You walk into a room. Everyone smiles. Someone shakes your hand. But something feels wrong. You ignore it. 3 months later, that same person stabs you in the back, takes credit for your work, spreads lies. You never saw it coming. But the signs were there. You just didn't know how to read them. Most men are blind. They see faces. They hear words. But they miss the truth. They trust the wrong people. They walk into danger. They get betrayed. Why? Because they were never taught to see like a predator. Miyamoto Musashi won over 60 duels to the death. Not because he was the strongest, but because he saw what others missed. He called it kan, perception of intent. While his opponents relied on ken, surface observation, Musashi saw the attack before the sword moved. He read the body, the breath, the eyes. He knew who would strike and when. This is not about paranoia. This is about survival. In 400 years, human nature hasn't changed. Deception still wears a smile. Danger still hides behind politeness. And the man who cannot read intent will always be prey. Modern men are functionally blind, not because their eyes don't work, but because their brains are hijacked. Dopamine addiction has destroyed attention spans. Social media trains you to look at everything and see nothing. You scroll, you swipe, you consume, but you never observe. You live in a state of permanent distraction. And distraction is death. The human brain evolved to detect threats. Your ancestors survived because they noticed the broken twig, the shift in body language, the predator in the shadows. But that neural wiring atrophies when you don't use it. Now you stare at screens. You trust profiles. You believe what people say instead of watching what they do. You've been domesticated, neutered, made soft. Here's the brutal truth. Most men confuse looking with seeing. Looking is passive. You glance at a face. You register basic data. Height, clothes, smile. But seeing is active. It's predatory. It's reading micro-expressions in the first 3 seconds of meeting someone. It's noticing the direction of their feet when they talk to you. Interest points forward. Deception angles away. It's catching the flash of contempt in their eyes when you succeed. The tightening of the jaw when they lie. Musashi made a distinction that modern psychology now validates. Ken is surface-level observation. You see the opponent's sword raised, you react. But by then, it's too late. Kan is perceiving intent before action manifests. You see the shoulder drop, the weight shift, the breath held. You know the strike is coming before the blade moves, and that split-second advantage is the difference between life and death. In daily life, this shows up everywhere. The colleague who agrees with you in meetings but never follows through. The friend who asks about your goals but subtly discourages you. The partner whose words say commitment but whose body language screams exit strategy. You miss these signals because you're looking, not seeing. You're listening to words instead of reading the truth beneath them. The modern epidemic is weaponized niceness. Everyone performs friendship. Everyone signals virtue. But beneath the performance, intent reveals itself. Through posture, through timing, through what they don't say. The problem is, you've been trained to ignore your instincts. Society calls it judgmental, paranoid, negative. But Musashi called it survival. And he died undefeated. Musashi wrote about a specific technique in the water scroll of the Book of 5 Rings. He called it the gaze of distant mountains. It sounds poetic, almost mystical, but it was pure tactical genius. And it saved his life more than once. Picture this. You're facing an opponent, swords drawn. Most fighters make a critical mistake. They fixate. They lock eyes with the enemy. They watch the sword tip. They focus on one threat point, and that narrow focus creates blind spots. The moment you stare at the blade, you miss the footwork. You miss the feint. You miss the real attack. Musashi did the opposite. He softened his gaze. He looked through his opponent, not at him. Like staring at distant mountains, you see the whole landscape, the trees, the valleys, the peaks, everything at once. No single point dominates your attention. When Musashi fought, he didn't track the sword. He tracked the entire body, the shoulders, the hips, the knees, because the body telegraphs intent before the weapon moves. In one documented duel, Musashi faced a master warrior named Muso Gonosuke. Gonosuke was renowned for his skill with the staff and sword, wielding a 4-foot wooden blade. He attacked without formalities. But Musashi didn't watch Gonosuke's weapon. He watched his center of mass. The moment the weight shifted forward, Musashi moved. Not in reaction to the attack, but in anticipation of it. He used his two-sword technique to trap Gonosuke's blade in an X-shaped block, then struck him lightly between the eyebrows. The duel ended instantly. This wasn't luck. This was Kan. Perception trained through 10,000 hours of observation. Musashi understood something that neuroscience now confirms. Peripheral vision detects motion faster than focal vision. When you stare directly at an object, you're using your fovea, the center of your retina, high detail but slow processing. But when you soften your gaze and engage your peripheral vision, you activate rod cells. They're designed for motion detection, speed over detail, survival over precision. The gaze of distant mountains wasn't mysticism. It was biology weaponized. Musashi saw the whole battlefield, while his opponents saw fragments. He processed body language, environmental shifts, and tactical openings simultaneously. His opponents were trapped in tunnel vision, fixated on the immediate threat, missing the trap. The deeper lesson? Musashi won duels before they started. He read his opponent's confidence level, their fear, their aggression, all visible in how they stood, how they gripped the sword, how they breathed. If a man held his breath, Musashi knew he was tense. Tension creates rigidity. Rigidity slows reaction time. A man who breathes shallow is panicking. Panic makes you predictable. Musashi exploited these microsignals ruthlessly. He didn't just fight bodies, he fought minds. And the mind reveals itself through the body long before the blade swings. Musashi mastered the macro view, perceiving intent through broad awareness. But modern psychology fills in the micro details he couldn't articulate. While Musashi warned against fixation in combat, understanding facial tells in social situations requires a different toolkit. This is where 20th century research becomes your tactical advantage. Paul Ekman's work on micro-expressions revealed what interrogators and con artists have known for centuries. You cannot fake involuntary facial responses. These signals flash across a face in under half a second. Contempt, disgust, fear. They're routed through the limbic system, the ancient brain that bypasses conscious control. The corner of the mouth twitches down. The eyebrow flashes up. The nostril flares. These aren't performance. They're biological truth. In conversation, this becomes a weapon. Someone tells you they're happy for your success, but their eyes narrow for a fraction of a second. That's contempt. They tell you they agree with your plan, but their lips press tight before they speak. That's suppressed anger. They say they'll help, but their body angles away from you. That's subconscious rejection. The words are performance. The body is truth. Musashi applied broad perception to combat strategy, but the principle translates. He studied his opponent's grip. A tight grip signals fear or aggression. Both create tension. Tension burns energy. A loose grip signals confidence or deception. Either way, it tells you how they'll move. He watched the eyes, not for aggression, but for target fixation. When an opponent's eyes locked onto a specific opening, Musashi knew the attack pattern. He'd bait them, expose a false weakness, then counter the predictable strike. The modern application is ruthless. You're in a negotiation. The other party says they have other offers, but their breathing quickens when you mention walking away. That's fear. They need this deal. You have leverage. You're interviewing for a job. The hiring manager leans back and crosses his arms when you mention your salary expectations. That's defensive rejection. You've priced yourself out. Adjust or move on. You're on a date. She says she's interested, but her feet point toward the exit. Her body's already leaving. Her words are politeness. Her posture is truth. This isn't cynicism. It's clarity. Musashi didn't assume everyone was an enemy. He simply refused to ignore signals. Most betrayals are preventable. The signs are always there. The friend who borrows money and avoids eye contact. The business partner who name drops constantly but never delivers results. The romantic interest who's always too busy but somehow has time for everyone else. You see it. You feel it. But you override your instincts because you don't want to seem judgmental. That hesitation costs you. Here's what you do tomorrow. Not theory, protocol. Step 1. Stop staring at faces during conversation. Soften your gaze. Look at the space between their eyes and hairline. This engages your peripheral vision. You'll catch micro-expressions you'd miss with direct eye contact. You'll see their hands, their posture shifts, their foot direction, all at once. Step 2. Watch the hands. Always. Hidden hands are a threat signal hardwired into your brainstem. When someone puts their hands in their pockets during conversation, your subconscious registers danger. Why? Because you can't see what they're holding. In Musashi's era, that meant a concealed blade. Today, it means concealed intent. People hide their hands when they're hiding something. Lying, planning, withholding. If someone suddenly pockets their hands mid-conversation, the topic just became sensitive. Probe deeper. Step 3. Ask a direct question. Then shut up. Completely. Don't fill the silence. Don't nod. Don't encourage. Just wait. Most people cannot handle silence. They'll start talking. And when they do, they'll reveal more than they intended. Liars especially hate silence. It forces them to maintain the lie without feedback. They'll over-explain, add unnecessary details, contradict themselves. Musashi used this in interrogations. He'd ask once, then watch. The truth emerged in the discomfort. Step 4. Study feet, not faces. Feet are the most honest part of the body. You can fake a smile, you can control your tone, but your feet point toward what you want and away from what you reject. In conversation, if someone's feet angle toward the door, they want to leave. If their feet point at you, they're engaged. If their feet point at someone else while talking to you, that person has their real attention. This applies in meetings, dates, social gatherings. Feet never lie. Step 5. Identify the snake in your circle. There's always one. The person who smiles at your face but celebrates your failures. Watch for micro-expressions of disgust when you share good news. The quick eye roll, the forced congratulations. the immediate subject change. That's envy. And envy is a patient predator. It waits for vulnerability. Then it strikes. Cut them out now, not later. Now. Musashi had a principle. Eliminate threats before they materialize. He didn't wait for betrayal. He recognized the pattern and severed the connection. Step 6. Train your peripheral vision deliberately. Stare at a point on the wall. Without moving your eyes, identify objects in your peripheral field. Do this daily. Your brain will rewire. Motion detection improves. Threat assessment sharpens. Within 2 weeks, you will notice things you used to miss. The person hovering too close. The vehicle following the same route. The body language shift when you enter a room. Awareness becomes automatic. Jocko Willink, former Navy SEAL commander, teaches situational awareness as survival protocol. He tells his students the same thing Musashi taught 400 years ago. Most casualties come from not paying attention. You miss the ambush because you're distracted. You miss the threat because you're complacent. You die because you stopped seeing. Willink's teams practiced what he called the combat mindset. Enter every room with a tactical scan. Exit routes, potential threats, body language of everyone present, not paranoia, preparation. In Ramadi, this practice saved lives. They'd enter a building, and immediately one SEAL would notice a man whose hands were hidden. Another would spot the angle of someone's body suggesting concealment. They'd react before the threat escalated, because they'd trained themselves to see. You're not in Ramadi, but the principle is identical. Every interaction is a data stream. Most people ignore it. They trust by default. They assume good intent. They get blindsided. You don't have to live in fear, but you do have to live in awareness. The predator gaze isn't about suspicion. It's about clarity. Seeing people as they are, not as they pretend to be. Implement Kanken starting now. Next conversation you have, apply the protocol. Soften your gaze. Watch the hands. Read the feet. Ask a question, and let silence do the work. You'll be shocked how much you've been missing. How many lies you've been swallowing. How many threats you've been ignoring. Here's your final challenge. For the next 7 days, say nothing. Just observe. Watch how people move, how they position themselves, how their words contradict their bodies. You'll start seeing patterns. The same people always deflect. The same people always perform. The same people always take and never give. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. And once you can't unsee it, you stop being prey. This is the way of the Ronin, the masterless samurai who trusts no one and survives everything. You are not here to be liked. You are here to be undefeated. Musashi walked alone because he refused to be slowed by those who couldn't see. He trained his perception until it became instinct, until reading intent was as natural as breathing. Subscribe to Katana Mindset. This is not a channel. This is an enlistment. You're either building discipline or bleeding potential. Choose. Master yourself, or the world will master you.